Welcome to another segment of Provocative Conversations, destined to provoke further thought and spark greater questions regarding God, church, and the religious establishments of both the past and the present. I am the proud heretic, Mr. Provocateur himself. God's will must prevail. Part 5. Whatever God's will is, whatever God has already constructed, formulated for your life, for Adam's life, must become the reality. I would say it has become the reality, even if it does not seem real or realistic or even true to you. The reality of the matter, the fact of the matter, the truth in regards to the matter of God's will for your life is that it has already become, it is in its existent state right now, God's will for your life. You might say, well, how can where I'm at be God's will for my life? Well, since the Bible speaks about all things working together, it's not that you do a thing and then God somehow tries to find space or room to fit that onto. It's like a hard drive, a computer hard drive. A hard drive, it just has one big open space. And when you store data or save data to that hard drive through a computer or whatever, the information it's not in some like chronological state. It's just wherever. It's just all over that hard drive in whatever pocket, in whatever place or space it can find itself. So as that hard drive gets full, the space for saving new information or even old information that has been changed, it becomes smaller, narrower. Now you only have pockets of space on that hard drive. And when you're trying to save the data has to find a spot to put this new data, this updated version of the data that's already there. It has to locate space. When we look at God, we look at our lives, we look at where we are versus what we feel that God's will is for us. We conclude, due to all the intake of information that we've received over the course of our life through church, through religion, through people, through family, through ignorance mainly. Because of all of that, we look at God in relation to the things that we do in the same manner that we look at a hard drive. It's like, okay, I did this. Now, God, I did this. Now, what do you do, God? I mean, is my life over now? Is my career over now? Do you have to go back to the drawing board and erase some things and add some other things? Do you have to remove some things in order to add space for this event, this situation, that occurrence, or any future occurrence? No, God does not deal with your life as though it's some type of hard drive where he has to find and locate a spot to put your mess up, your so-called mess up. He has to locate a spot to put whatever it is that you feel that you've done that has now taken you out of his will, his purpose, his plan for you, or that has taken Adam, and you fill in who Adam is. Is Adam you? Is it your child? Is it your spouse? Is it your boss? Is it your neighbor? Is it your spiritual leader? Is it those within church? Is it one of them? Or did it happen in one of those arenas? It doesn't matter. It is all part of the purpose and plan of God. And I know that's hard to accept. And let me say something here. It is hard for me to accept a lot of the things that realistically, I know as it relates to truth, I know that the things that I'm saying are in accordance with truth. Yet that does not make it easier for me when it comes to me being done wrong, being slighted, or feel that I've been done wrong or slighted. It's a struggle for me to accept that God is not just in this, but that God's will and his purpose and his plans are at work and in conjunction with this. I'm going through some things now. Most of the time when I'm recording, I'm going through some things. And those things tend to challenge exactly what I'm speaking in regards to. Yet I still have to speak in regards to those things in the light of the reality, or I won't even say the reality, in light of the experience or the event that is occurring in my life that contradicts the reality of what is true, what is fact, because God's will and God's purpose and God's plan are what's true, what's fact. I have to somehow find a way, not find a way, but I have to somehow overcome the situation, the event, the hurt within the event that I'm feeling, that I'm experiencing, in order to maintain my view in relation to what's really going on, which is God's will, his purpose, his plan. And then I have to conclude that despite all of this, God's will must prevail. The will of this person, the will of my own, the so-called will of this person, the so-called will of my own cannot prevail, but rather God's will must prevail in my life, in my situation. His purpose, his plan for my life must become reality. Regardless of what's going on, it must become the reality, because it already has become the reality. But it may not be seen openly where others can see it at this point in time, but it must become the reality. And most of all, it must become my reality, or the reality within me, within my psyche, within my intellect. Because if I can't get it right in my psyche and my intellect, my thoughts are going to be out of alignment. My attitude is going to be misaligned. My behavior is going to be a messy situation. It's going to seemingly create an even messier situation, at least within my head. So it's necessary for me to, through it all, perceive God in light of the truth, which is no matter what's going on, no matter what you're going through, my will shall prevail. And there's nothing that anyone can do against the purposes and plans of God for Adam. Remember, Adam is mankind. You are Adam, male or female. You are Adam. Put yourself as Adam. Look at Adam as a metaphor. It's a phrase, but you put yourself in that. Put yourself in the place of Adam. God is not losing the so-called battle over Adam. Adam is not losing. God's will must prevail as it relates to Adam, as it relates to you, as it relates to people. I know it's hard. I live it daily. I know it's hard to believe, God, you have purpose, you have plan for even them. You truly do. And your will is still going to prevail, because it must. Because you are the Alpha, you are the Omega. So, Let's look at this here in Numbers. Numbers, I'm going into an area that I spoke of in part 4. I didn't give verses in regards to it, but I spoke of it in the sense that I was going to deal with the story of Balaam and Balak. And I said it's going to be kind of lengthy as far as the reading itself goes. But as I read it, then you'll realize, you really must read it in order to come to an understanding of it fully. So here you have the children of Israel. They've already left Egypt, the bondage in Egypt, and now they're in the wilderness, and they're wandering, pondering, and a whole lot of other things. God said that he would put the fear of Israel, the children of Israel, or those who came out of Egypt. God said, I will put the fear of you upon them. So all of those in the Canaanite land, the different countries that made up the Canaanite land territory, God said that I will put the fear of you upon them. They will hear of you and they will be afraid. So here you have a king named Balak, and he heard about the terrible things that God was doing throughout the different countries as it relates to the children of Israel. So he was afraid. His people were afraid. The neighbors were afraid. Everyone was, not I guess everyone, but many were afraid. So here we go. Let's pick it up right here and let's glean some information as it relates to your so-called will and God's purposes and plans, to see if your so-called will can trump out God's purposes and plans. Here we go. In Numbers chapter 22, verses 1 through 39. And I'll talk as we go along. And I'm in the New King James Version unless I may mention differently. And you don't always have to read this with me, but it's good for you to locate it if you ever need to fall back on it. So I'm going to go ahead on and read it, and let's see where it takes us. It says in verse 1, Then the children of Israel moved and camped in the plains of Moab on the side of the Jordan across from Jericho. Now, the plains of Moab, now you have in the land of Moab, you have the Moabites. Okay. So verse 2, Now Balak, who was the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. So now they had already dealt with the Amorites, and the Amorites came against them several different times. But anyway, they neutralized those people. The report got out about the Amorites. So now here, Balak, hearing the report, it says in verse 3, And Moab was exceedingly afraid of the people because they were many. There were a lot of descendants or people who came out of Egypt who were the descendants of the 12 tribes, the sons of Jacob, all his 12 sons. And we know it's Joseph mainly. People probably know him or relate to Joseph more so than the other sons. But anyway, you have Joseph, and you had a lot of sons, but you definitely had 11 other sons, but we'll just deal with Joseph. So Moab was exceedingly afraid of the people because they were many. And Moab, this is not a person, was sick with dread because of the children of Israel. They were so afraid of them, they were sick to the point of being sick. I don't know if that was a physical sick or just sick of having to dread them. So Moab said to the elders of Midian, so now they're going to the Midianites. It says, Now this company will lick up everything around us as an ox licks up the grass of the field. They said, we don't do something about these children of Israel, man, they're going to come through here and they're going to destroy everything. They claiming everything as they move. And Balak, the son of Zippor, he was the king of the Moabites at that time. So now here you have Balak, the king of the Moabites. So now Balak sent messengers, verse 5, to Balaam. Now Balaam is the prophet of God, but it says the son of Beor at Pethor, which is near the river in the land of the sons of his people, to call him, saying, look, a people has come from Egypt. So now King Balak is sending to Balaam. I just call Balaam a prophet of God. But anyway, he was a person who spoke on the behalf of God, spoke in relation to God, as the storyline itself goes. So now Balak is writing Balaam, Balak, the king of the Moabites, Balaam. Now I could be saying that word wrong, but it's Balaam, Balaam, the son of Beor at Pethor. So now he writes him a letter telling him what's going on. He said, look, a people has come from Egypt. See, they cover the face of the earth. He said, so many of them, you can't even see the earth. And they are settling next to us. So now they're really afraid. Therefore, please come at once. Curse this people for me, for they are too mighty for me. Now, here's the king saying, look, I'm afraid of these people. They got us all shaking in our boots. And then I hear they're getting ready to come to live right next door to us. Now, we going to need you to do something about this here, Mr. Balaam. You supposedly have the powers to call upon the gods and change a thing. You have this power of your will. You have this power of your prayers to just change the world. And you know, people say that today, the power of your words, and you have the power to pray and And you know, Jesus said, you know, do you not think that I can call forth legions of angels if I wanted to come and fight my battles? But no, I can't, because this is what I've been called to do. So people say you can do whatever you want. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up against you, you shall condemn, and all this other stuff. As though we have these powers to make a thing happen outside of the will, the purposes and plans of God. And then we lace it with double doo-doo, or as the Bible say, double dung. We lace it with double doo-doo, dung, by saying God will never cross your will. He'll never go against your will. So here it is. Let's see if that's all true. Therefore, verse 6, please come at once and curse this people for me, for they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I shall be able to defeat them once you curse them and drive them out of the land. For I know that he, meaning you, Balaam, whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. Now, how can we, anyway, let's keep going. Yeah, I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. So now, you know, this is part of where we get in. You know, if I could just have the preacher touch my head, if I could just have the preacher bless me. Man, if you don't reach up on top of your own head and so-called bless your own self, I mean, you got the cursing part real good. You ain't trying to figure out how to curse yourself. You're already walking around defeated, feeling like you're cursed, and like the curses of Deuteronomy 28 reside and rest upon you and your household. So you got the curse part right, but the blessed part, you got to go to somebody else. So here it is. According to the storyline, there was apparently what would you call that? Not even a rumor, but there was a known fact. It was a known fact back at that time period, apparently, that Balaam, whatever he spoke happened. Whatever he cursed was cursed. Whatever he blessed was blessed, you know, or at least people perceived it to be that way, because, you know, you have the power of your will. You know, it doesn't matter what God's will is. It doesn't matter what God's purpose and what God's plan is. That's not important. What's important is the fact that you have a will. You have an ability to choose. You have the freedom of choice. Yes. No. Man, you getting ready to find out that ain't none of that the case. All right. If I speak broken English, it's because I ain't trying to fix none of it up. I've proven myself in college, proven myself above and beyond at least probably 90% of those at a major university that I was at. I know how to speak properly, appropriately, but it's not necessary because, Paul said it like this, something to this effect, that I didn't come with you with enticing words of man's wisdom. I'm coming to you with the simplicity of truth. I don't have time to fix it up and lace it up. You hear him in the black churches and stuff. You hear him when the preacher, fix it up, preacher. Ah, that sounds good. That's good preaching there, preacher. They don't even know what he just said. But that's good preaching, preacher. I don't have time for all of that. I don't care about none of that nonsense. I'm just trying to get a truth across. So let's look at that again. It says, for I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. All right. So the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed from the diviners or the diviner's fee in their hand, or departed with the diviner's fee in their hand. So, they kind of looked at Balaam as though he was this, like, you know how you got to go to the palm reader and she reads your hand and you pay her, some money. And you give a little something and she tell you a little something, you give a little something more and she tell you a little something more. So here they are, they're going to Balaam with this payment. We're going to pay you to curse these people so that we can overtake them and get them out of here. And they came to Balaam and spoke to him the words of Balak. And Balaam said to them, lodge here, stay here tonight, and I'll bring back word to you as the Lord speaks to me. So he said, as God speaks to me, I'll tell you what God says. Wait a minute now. I thought whoever you curse will be cursed and whoever you bless will be blessed. Why are you going to see what God has to say on the matter if indeed you got the power to bless and curse your own self? Okay, so anyway, let's keep going. So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. Okay, they stayed there tonight waiting on him to hear something from God. Verse 9, then God came to Balaam and said, who are these men with you? Now, first of all, let's get this straight. God ain't never asking you a question because he don't know the answer. God ain't never trying to figure out, who the hell is that out there? Who is this you got with you? What is you coming here with? God, that's where we get it wrong at, and that's where we get our twisted theologies, a lot of our theology from the fact that God said, Adam, where you at? Where you at, Adam? And it gives this storyline like, God was angry. Where you at, Adam? Ring your little tail here. Get over here now. I got something for you. Yeah. Now, since the Bible said, I said too. Yeah, I know it's going to mess you up, but I'm going to say it just because it's going to mess you up. Because that's the same. That's the way I want to paint it the way that we believe it, the way that we speak it without even saying it. We think curses are based upon the words that we use. No, it's based upon the intent and the motives of the heart. It's based upon that lack of love in whatever word you use. That's what it's based upon. So I can use a word and have it in love and in truth to bring forth a truth, and it's not even what you call a bad word, even though it's one of the words that you've listed as a bad word. So, since the Bible says neither is ox nor is ass, I used to like that when I was a little boy. Every Sunday in the Church of God, we would have to read the 10 Commandments. And, you're not supposed to desire another man's goods or whatever. Don't ever, be jealous of another man's goods and envy what another man has, something to that effect. And it says, neither his ox nor his ass. And I like to say ass when they would get to that part. Whoever was standing next to him, we would be ready and waiting on that ass part. And then we say ass, we just like that. That's right. I said it. But anyway, so God was, in the garden saying, Adam, where your ass at? And where your wife ass at too? I want both of your asses. I know you got a problem with that, but why is you stuck on words? Why is you stuck on words? It's words, person. It's words. Don't get stuck on words. It is what it is. God ain't tripping over words. You're tripping over words. See, those are those oral traditions. See, the children of Israel, the Pharisees, I don't know if the Sadducees had them as well, but they had oral laws. Had nothing to do with laws that God made. These were oral laws that people put together, transcribed or prescribed or whatever, put together, and then began to put them on people and told people to adhere to them. So they were telling Jesus during his time in ministry, you're walking against our traditions. You're walking against our oral laws. These are not even laws that God brought about. These are just laws that these people just conjured up in their religious zeal or foolishness or whatever, selfishness, whatever it is. And now they're using it and usurping it over the Bible as it relates to love. And they're so caught up on laws. That's what these so-called curse words. What is a curse word? What is the curse word? Where's the Bible's list of curse words? Remember, you say, if it ain't in the Bible, it ain't God. Okay. Where's your curse list? Where is your curse list? Exactly. They're your oral traditions. They're based upon your perception, your concept, based upon your lack of judgment, your inability to judge rightly. But if it's in the Bible, then it's all true. Well, since ass is in the Bible, stop getting disturbed when you hear me use the word ass. It's in the Bible. You said if it ain't in the Bible, it ain't God. So in other words, if it is in the Bible, all right then. Stop getting mad. Don't you get hurt over that. You grow up. You cut that out. Get that pacifier out your mouth. Take that bib off. Cut it out. Get it right. Get it right. Get it tight. All right. Let's go back to verse 9. Then God came to Balaam and said, who are these men with you? Verse 10. Balaam said to God, oh, that's Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab, who sent to me, saying, look, a people has come out of Egypt and they cover the face of the earth. Come now and curse them for me. Perhaps I shall be able to overpower them and drive them out. In other words, perhaps my will, my plans and my purpose will overpower God's will and God's plan and purpose. And instead of God's will, purpose, and plan prevailing, mine will. Because after all, I am human. I am man. I am Adam. I have the freedom to choose and do whatever it is I want. And then God spoke. Boy, I'm so glad when God speaks, because we be talking some nonsense. And God said to Balaam, you shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people. Wait a minute. For they are blessed. God just told him. Let me tell you what God just said. He said, no, hell you won't. You won't do that. You won't do no such thing. Your will ain't powerful enough. You cannot prevail over what I have already willed and purposed and planned for them. I've already blessed them. You cannot curse them. You do not have the power to choose and do as you think you can choose and do. You cannot curse these people because I've already blessed them. So Balaam rose in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, go back to your land, for the Lord has refused to give me permission to go with you. God will never permit your will to prevail over his, your purpose and your plan to prevail over his. So whatever God has determined to do from Adam from before the foundation of the world, that includes salvation, sanctification, justification, redemption, righteousness, holiness, being grafted in, so-called grafted in as sons and daughters, being the adoption of sons and daughters, all of that. God's redemptive plan, God's purpose and plans for Adam. He will never give anything permission to go outside of his will, his purpose, his plan. He won't even give you permission to live your life the way that you think you're doing. God is not permitting that. That is not happening like that. Whatever you're doing is only because it's in line with what God has purposed and planned all along the way of your life, throughout your transition needs through life. Trust that. We ain't finished. And the princes of Moab rose and went to Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. Then Balak again sent princesses, whatever, more numerous and more honorable than they. So now he sends some more prestigious people, many more people, trying to get Balaam to come on over against God's will and God's plan and God's purpose for the children of Israel. And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus says Balak the son of Zippor, please let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will certainly honor you greatly. I give you whatever you want for the most part, and I will do whatever it is. I will do whatever you say to me. Therefore, please come. Curse this people for me. Oh, but God would never cross your will. Whatever you want to do, you have the freedom to choose to do it, and God would never cross your will. Your devil is a liar. He ain't my devil because I don't believe in a devil. But your devil is a liar. That ain't going to happen like that. Then Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold. That's what I'm talking about. That's how I am about religion. That's how I am about the church. That's how I am about the Christian community. To hell with religion, Christianity, church, and the traditions of the church that void out the truth and nullify the actual power of God from ever being effective within those institutions and through those institutions. Even if you were to give me all your tithes and offerings, all your so-called silver and gold, I could not go beyond the word or the truth that God speaks to me, the word of the Lord my God, to do less or to do more. I can never go beyond the words that God has already spoken to me in regards to you. I can't do no more and I can't do no less. In other words, he said, listen, whatever God's will is, it must prevail, because I can't go beyond what he has spoken in regards to Adam. I can't change God's plans and God's purposes in the life of Adam. I can't do no less and I can't do no more. Never. Why? Because God's will always prevail over your will. God's purposes and plans will always trump out your purposes and plans. That's why. Now, therefore, please, you also stay here tonight, that I may know what more the Lord will say to me. So now he's saying, look, why don't you all stay another night and let me see if God's going to change his mind. We always think we can change God's mind. That's why most people pray. They pray and hoping to change God's mind. They're hoping to change his will, his purpose, his plans for a thing in regards to a thing. No, you cannot manipulate God. You can't bring enough tithes and offerings. You can't bring enough love offerings. You can't show up at the church house enough for God to turn around and change his purpose and his plan. Oh, yeah, God will change this. God ain't changing nothing. I don't care what you find in scripture that seems to imply that, they held the sun back, the sundial back. So because that's the power of their prayers. They did this and then God did that. Let me tell you something. If you think that consistency of truth does not matter with God, then you're just totally ignorant of your God from the basic level of knowing God, from the basic foundation of knowing God, because that's one of the basic foundations about God, is that his truth is consistent. Truth is consistent. Truth doesn't vary. It's consistent. So to say one or two verses that seem to imply a certain thing is to trump out all of the other verses in the Bible that outnumbers it in regards to showing that God's will is the most dominant force as it relates to mankind, as it relates to the earth itself, the world itself, and everything in it, the heavens beneath the earth. If you think that your will is so powerful and that all you got to do is pray a thing and God will change things because he needs your prayer, man, please. Come on, get up off of that. Get up off that religious faith, so-called faith movement stuff. That faith movement is, honestly, you think about it and you watch, eventually it dries up. That faith movement is about money. It's about prestige. It's about power. Those people are not caring necessarily about you. They'll do enough to justify what they do and to validate with the IRS that they are reaching out to the communities of people. But as a whole, you will see them and their children looking like kings and queens. And the followers are still struggling, having to believe way beyond what these preachers believe for. Trust that. Now, am I saying that that's not God's will? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that God will bring you through all those type situations. He will create those situations in order for us to understand, to know, and to grow. So I'm not saying that, okay, all of those preachers are crooked or whatever. Though I am saying that, I'm not saying that. Why? Because I know that there's purpose and plan even in that. Whether it's for them and their family members or for the followers themselves. Because I'm going to tell you something. Some of the stuff that I followed, some of the people that I followed, even though those people were in violation to what I understood in regards to scripture, as far as scripture is concerned, I have no doubt that God was definitely using them and keeping them afloat because of the role that they play in his purpose and his plans and his will for the followers and for those individuals themselves. Because remember, even those individuals must come to the reality of God's purposes and plans and will for their lives. So they have a life to live and they have a destiny, a predetermined path that they must follow as well. You look at Pharaoh, you want to put Pharaoh out. Actually, Pharaoh was taking care of God's business. You see what I'm saying? He was doing exactly what he was chosen to do. Okay. So anyway, let's read this here because I'm going to have to wrap this up so that I don't go too much over, and I'll pick it up in part 6. In verse 14, the princes of Moab rose and went to Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. Then Balak again sent princes more numerous and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus says Balak the son of Zippor, Please let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will certainly honor you greatly, and I will do whatever you say to me. Therefore, please come, curse this people for me. Then Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. We'll never be able to cross God's word, God's purpose, God's plan, God's will. No matter how much you try, Adam, you will never be able to cross it. That's why sin can't cross it. That's why hell can't touch it. Because you can't do no more or no less than God's word has already spoken in regards to Adam. Now, therefore, please, you also stay here tonight, that I may know what more the Lord will say to me. And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, if the men come to call you, rise and go at them. But only the word which I speak to you, that shall you do. In other words, God says, only my purpose, only my plans, only my will you be able to speak to him. You can't speak no less than what I've already spoken in regards to him. So Balaam rose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. Then God's anger was aroused because he went, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as an adversary against Balaam. So now here it is. God was mad that he went with the princes of Moab. Now, apparently, I just missed something there as well, because, it did say right there, if the men come to call you, rise and go with them. So I thought they came to call him to go with them, but I guess he probably saying if they come back again for you, then go back with them. And he was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. Now the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand, and the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. So the donkey saw the angel, and your boy Balaam didn't see him. Okay. And then these prophets and these preachers, bishops and apostles act like they don't miss God. And here it is. This man here, he missed God. And he was in a leadership position, apparently. He missed God. The donkey saw more of God than he did. So anyway, now the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand, and the donkey turned aside and out of the way and went into the field. The donkey turned and got off that road and ran away up and in the field. Isn't it something how we say God's will and God's purpose and God's plans are so much weaker than ours, and we can do whatever we want? And here it is, when God stands in the way of our will. Because, people say, God, don't cross your will. Wait a minute, Balaam and those people, and they were bound to go do their will. Apparently, they were doing it, and God wasn't happy about it. And so it says, and they were cut off. The angel cut them off from their will. And Balaam struck the donkey to turn her back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards, with a wall on this side and a wall on that side. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pushed herself against the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. The donkey was trying to get away, trying to go around or whatever, and Balaam's foot got crushed against the wall as the donkey got closer to the wall, apparently. And so again, Balaam struck the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right or to the left. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me God will block you off where you can't turn to the right or to the left? God's will and purpose has within itself the ability to stop you so that your will, your purpose, your plan will not prevail. Listen to what it said. He crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, so he struck her. Verse 26, then the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right or to the left. No way to turn? God will have it where you don't have nowhere to go but his will, but his way, but his purpose, but his plan. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam. So Balaam's anger was aroused. He still didn't see the angel of the Lord. And he struck the donkey with his stick, his staff. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and God caused the donkey to say, "You fool." She said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? The donkey is talking. And Balaam said to the donkey, "Because you have abused me, you hurt me." Well, I guess when the donkey, squeezed his foot or whatever, "I wish there were a sword in my hand, for now I would kill you." The donkey said to Balaam, am I not your donkey on which you have ridden? Ever since I became yours to this day, and you talking about you're going to kill me? Was I ever disposed to do this to you? Now the donkey is just having a whole conversation with the brother. And he said, no. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes. You see that there? That's the only problem with people. God has to open our eyes in order for us to see who he is and what he's doing in regards to his will, his purpose, and his plans. We cannot see that on our own. It takes God to open our eyes that we might be able to see what is actually going on, what is actually in charge, who is actually in charge. It's not you. It's not your will. It's not your purpose. It's not your plans. It's God's will, God's purpose, and his plans, because that is the reality, and it must become the reality in you, in regards to you, in which it has become the reality. But it has to become, because we are also becoming. Okay, so he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand once God opened his eyes, and he bowed his head and fell on his face. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Remember, he ain't asking him, like, I don't know why you did that. Tell me why you did that. Behold, I have come out to stand against you. Wait a minute. God never stands against our will. Never does he stand against your will. Oh, no. So why is God standing against his will? Let me read it again. I have come out to stand against you because your way is perverse before me. Wait a minute now. God will never stand against your will. Yeah, but see, he knows some of our hearts. And when he knows our hearts, man, be quiet, okay? Stop watering down God and making yourself more potent, more powerful than God. The donkey saw me and turned aside from me these 3 times. If she had not turned aside from me, surely I would have killed you by now and let her live. Well, first of all, the angel wasn't going to kill him. God wasn't going to kill Balaam, okay? So there it is right there. You question something like that. God was not going to kill Balaam, okay? He's not going to kill him. Yeah, well, he was disobeying. Listen, first of all, did Jesus do it when people disobeyed him? He said, I come to do the will of my Father. He said, everything that you see me do, I do it because it's what I see the Father do. Notice he didn't come and do that to anybody. Notice he told Peter, no, cut that out. Put your sword up. You all don't even know what manner of spirit you of. This is not how we run things. You gotta get your theology right. I would also have killed you by now and let her live. And Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know you stood in the way against me. Now, therefore, if it displeases you, I will turn back. Then the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, go with the men. What was all of that about? If you're going to tell me to go ahead on and go with them, that's what I was doing. But only the word that I speak to you, that you shall speak. Why? Because you can't speak no more than what God speaks. You can't do no more than what God does. Your will is not powerful enough to prevail against God's purposes and plans. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Now, when Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the city of Moab, which is on the border of the Arnon, the boundary of the territory. Then Balak said to Balaam, did I not earnestly send you, calling for you? And now you just coming? Why did you not come to me? Am I not able to honor you? And Balaam said to Balak, look, I have come to you. Now, have I any power at all to say anything? The word that God puts in my mouth, that I must speak. I don't have the power to say whatever I want to say. I can't do what you want me to do. I can't do what I want to do. I can't say whatever I want to say. I can only do what is in the will, the purposes, and plans of God for Adam. And somehow we just feel that we have such a powerful will, a more powerful will than God himself. And we can do what we want and say what we want. And God has to get with it and honor it. And God has to change his will, his purposes, and his plans as a result of our will, our purpose, and our plans. Sit here and submit to us, God. That's not the way this works, people. Please enlighten yourself. We're not finished with this one. I told you this Baleen Balak thing was kind of long. We're not finished with this one. We're going to hit it again. We're going to hit another part of it. Same storyline. Think about it. Ponder it. See what you come up with. Let it become your reality. Whatever it is that is within the will, the purpose, and plan of God. Not yours, but his. Because that's what's going to prevail. His, not yours.